Alright guys, so today we have a Plat 4 support, starting off on Moira, and then later in the game swaps to Zen and Ana for a significant amount of time. This player says, very frustrating game, tried to make some space, peeling and pressing as I felt our DPS were kinda slow. Felt I played well, so we'll be glad to see review, don't think we had a chance to win though. So, we're gonna get right into this. Plat 4, your mechanics, well, you're not really worried about your mechanics on Moira anyways, right? So it's still just going to be decision making. But yeah, Plat is that range where some people are starting to hit some shots maybe a little more consistently than down below. You're maybe starting to get punished for some mistakes, but it's still in like the depths of these fights. It's probably feeling like a free-for-all still, where kind of every man's doing, you know, his own thing. And because of that reason, it makes Moira really good to climb with, because if you are in that brawly, you know, every man for themselves situation, Moira really excels. So let's just get right into this one. Damage orb at the start, completely fine. Don't stick around too long. I'm not sure why McCree is on the truck when he could be down below, but it is what it is. I think it's important to note it's been 6 seconds, you haven't really had a fight, and you're at half of your healing meter, so you're going to be paying a lot of attention to your resource meter, as in Plat you're still working on some of the fundamental things, right? Like getting value out of all your cooldowns, getting value out of your resource meter if you're a Moira. Make sure you have your fade when you need it, things like that. So I'm going to be watching these cooldowns a lot this game, because I think it's a big point of improvement for mid-level players. Like right now, you shouldn't really be healing, right? You need to heal when the damage is actually coming in, and right now there's just a little bit of poke. You do have a Zen, which isn't great for healing up poke damage, which means it does kind of fall on you a little bit. Zen can do some amount of healing, but most Zens just put their orb on one person and leave it. Anyways, what I'm getting at here is you're at a third of your meter. You're pretty much in the red zone already, and the fight hasn't started. Also throw your healing orb out when no one needs healing. They need it now, and it's going to bounce back, so this is a good orb, right? Because it's going to come back. But really, I mean, you're almost out of resources to heal, right? And the fight hasn't started yet, so it's good to see that you're healing. A lot of Moiras in low elo aren't healing, but it's also a little concerning how fast you're running through all your resources. And now a couple things come to mind. You're out of healing, and you realize this, and you come here to recharge your healing meter, right? And let's talk a little bit about positioning on Moira. So for positioning, and let's keep in mind I'm no artist, right? But let's pretend, all right, this is the high ground on Hollywood, and we're gonna be looking at this kind of top down. This is your archway choke, right? This is point, and they kind of walk in through here, and there's like there's a car right here, and let's just make it look something like this, right? They can come through here, and so what's going to be happening is your team has already, you started here, right? And you're kind of poking through here, and this is fine. And then you kind of back up to here. So your Sig's playing here, or your tank. I think it was Sig. Regardless, it doesn't really matter, right? Your tank's playing here, and all of your other heroes are funneled up behind him. So you've got maybe DPS, your Zen is over here, right? And there, the enemy team's kind of walking in through here, supports are following up, and damage is coming through here. And so as a Moira, your job is to be on top of your healing meter, so you need to be able to manage that, and you need to be alive the whole time, right? And so you don't really need to see the enemy unless you run out of healing meter, which is the situation you're in, which means you need to be playing, and we'll put you in yellow, right? This, or even maybe in here, is a good spot for you to be playing, right? Because you need to be able to reach your team, your whole team, from where you're standing with your primary fire range. And you also want to be right on top of your tank, and if you need to, right, and this is only if you need to, you can walk out just a little bit and kind of get some of your healing charge here. So this is your goal. Most of the time you want to be here. Occasionally you can peek out to here, but you want to be behind your tank when you do this. You really, like, we haven't gone very far in this video yet, but really I can see you're already like way out in front of your tank, and I know it's to get healing, but it's very likely going to get you killed. It depends. I mean, it depends on course. You have your fade, so there's always the chance that you get out of this. But like, right, this is just like a really, really dangerous situation. You've got a Sigma here who's staring at you. You've got a Widow who just took a shot, and you've got a McCree here. So I really don't like this peak. And if you need to recharge your healing, it's better to wait for like just the Sigma, right? Let's just say the Sigma will walk up here because he has to walk up to point, and you can recharge your healing from here. You're not peeking the rest of his team, and you can still, right? If he's standing here, you can still get your healing beam here from safety behind your tank. Instead of doing what you're doing now, which, as you can see, is much more dangerous. And so you kind of double down a little bit, and McCree headshots you when you're out of the fight, right? So, pretty big positional error. It's probably going to cost your team this first point, right? They only have Zen for healing now. And the enemy team isn't down anybody yet. So this is going to be quite the tough situation. And I know you came out here to get your heal, right? But that's just because you were not managing your heal properly in the first place. So I know a lot of Moiras in Plat can get tunnel vision really hard. Alright, good kill on the Zen. And your team has got their Sigma as well. Probably because you were distracting the Ana. And so maybe you guys have a chance to come back from this. We'll see. Damage orbit's fine. And you get slept and you're dead here. Alright, and so I want to make one thing especially clear from my rambling on this first point, is that you guys should not be holding this point, right? So you want to create habits that are good for you, like even as you keep climbing in the elo. So your play needs to be consistent. And what's going to happen is that if you are getting picked out in positions like this, and you leave your team with only a Zen, you will lose this point, right? And so even though you won this point, it is very important that you understand that you still, like, it was still a mistake, even though you won. And in the future, you won't be able to win in a situation like that. All right, and this is kind of that free-for-all thing that I was talking about, right? So it just feels like a big, like, brawl with everybody. First thing that happens, I think your awareness is a little low here, right? So Sigma ults here. And you could either, I mean, you could really just walk out of the front of this. So you could just take 3 steps and you're out. But you're focused on healing your Sigma, and it happens. You could also fade out the front of this. But what happens is you end up fading right into it, and you get caught. You make a good play to heal your Zen. It's good that you did this. You pop the ult. I personally wouldn't do this here because I don't think it's winnable, but we've already seen a lot of the fight, and it actually did look pretty winnable. So Sigma misses rock on you. Nobody's healing Sigma. I'm not sure what's going on there. No one's healing him. So you get the kill, right? And so now it's winnable. Ana's not healing her Zen either. Just a big melee. You see the high noon, and this is like a problem. So you see it, and you run out into the open, right? So luckily McCree has no idea what's going on either. But all it takes, and I really mean it, all it takes is for McCree to look here. You're dead. You're done. Wow. And you're gone again right when your team gets back. So they still have not managed to take the point. That is a very good kill on the Ana. And C9. So this one's on your Sig, but It's not even sure if you would have won anyways. And you die on cart. It is what it is. Reset. Alright, first rule of thumb. Where's your tank, right? Okay, so he is coming. But there's really, like, I feel like I'm kind of repeating myself here, right? There's just no need for this. You have your fade, so you're relatively safe, but all it takes is one volley. And for this McCree to hit one shot when the Sig hits a volley. Or all it takes is... And there you go, right? And so this is the second time, maybe even the third time this game, where you are dead before the fight ever happens. And it should result in your team getting wiped here. Whether it does or not, I don't know, but it should. Alright, at this point in the fight, 3 of your team has died. You weren't able to get to the high ground because you were walking back. And it's time to die on the payload or just get out. I'm going to try and speed through this a little more than I have been so far, but right now the main things we are thinking about are positioning, not getting cut out at the beginning of the fight, and your resource meter. So your healing orbs and damage orbs have been pretty fine. Your fade's been pretty fine. You have a little bit of room to improve, but for Plat they're pretty up to standard. But your positioning is the thing that is definitely holding you back the most, right? And so you will get a lot more value than you're getting right now just by being alive, and that's all. That's really the main thing I want to focus on here from now on. So I'm not going to stop at all these small parts, and we're just going to talk about the big picture ideas, because I think you get where I'm going with most of this. Alright, so you are the first one to die. This time it's not quite as bad as the other times, and you did a good job. I know you ulted because your resource meter was low and you still needed to heal. And then you did a good job focusing down the McCree. And so her beam is really good for killing isolated targets, right? So when you use her beam, as long as no one on your team is critical, you do want to be trying to focus out, their DPS or maybe a support on their own to try and get that kill. You were doing good at that. Zen discorded you, and then it looked like the McCree landed a couple nice shots on you, as long as the Zen looked like he threw a couple orbs as well. You weren't too out of position here, right? You're kind of playing where you need to be playing, but you were exposed on a couple different angles and you paid for it. And again, you're the first one to die, which is pretty bad for your team. So let's just see what happens. So you make the swap to Zen, maybe try and take matter into your own hands a little bit more. I've definitely been here before. And so the thing with Zen, positioning wise at least, is that you can play a lot farther back, because you just need line of sight of your team and line of sight of the enemy team, but you don't need to be like physically close to them. Your orbs have a relatively fast travel speed, and you have long range on Discord and Harmony, so you want to be playing in like way in the back, but you still want to see both teams. So that's what we're going to be looking for. You land some nice headshots, and if you push up, you get the kill here, and that's a good duel. And again, you got to be really careful with your position here. I know you were trying to heal that McCree, but just think like if you were the enemy, what would you see right now? And you see Zen's on his own. You have no mobility to get out of here. Sig is going to be looking at you. McCree could look at you if he wants to, but he seems to be a little focused on something else. This Zen will come around the corner eventually. And you're right there, so you got to be really careful with what you're doing right here. Alright, so a couple ults come out. It's pretty unfortunate. You get behind the box, which is good, but you get lifted up, you get slammed, and then you walk out in front of the high noon, which chunks off most of your health, and then the Sigma finishes you off, right? And so, besides the McCree, your McCree, who was doing, you know, God knows what your McCree was doing, but besides your McCree, right? You're the first one in this team fight to die, and again, you're leaving your team at a disadvantage because your positioning is not where it needed to be, right? You could be playing from a whole number of places, right? Back here's pretty good. You're pretty safe back here. You can see everything. You can play right here. It's pretty good. You can even play all the way back here, you know, like using this as cover. You got a whole bunch of options here, so really no need to be in front. Another unnecessary death, right? And just think about all the value you could be getting for your team if you were just alive. Even if you're not the best player ever, if you can just stay alive in these fights, you will just inherently get a lot more value. When you are alive, your mechanics are pretty good, right? I saw you win a duel against the McCree. You know, your orb usage on Moira has been pretty decent. You've been healing a lot. You just need to stay alive more. You need to really focus on that. And there's not really too much to do here. You're just stalling at this point. Good to focus on the Sojourn. You die anyways, and then looks like everybody either dies or, yeah, they're all dead. And this round's over. So I'm actually not even going to go over the second half of this game. You do play a little bit of Ana. You start on Zen, then you go to Ana. But I think I've seen everything I needed to see, and I can get across what you really can do to improve, right? And so it's right here. And this is actually the only thing I want you to think about in these games. You need to make an actual effort to not go on autopilot and think about, you know, am I safe here? Am I able to get value for my team here? Because just staying alive will instantly help you climb. I mean, when you are not alive in a lot of these fights, it will cost your team, you know, the whole team fight, which could snowball to losses just based on this one thing. So if you focus on, you know, being in a good spot, being safe, being able to stay alive and provide healing and damage for your team, instantly I think you will see a huge improvement in your gameplay. And then once you have this down, you can maybe look towards other things like your mechanics and your resource management and your cooldown management and your ult usage, you know, a couple more advanced things. But I think until you are alive during these fights, you shouldn't even really be worried about those. They're in a decent spot. You just can't really even get use out of it until you're alive more. So this is the thing you should be thinking about. This will help you climb. And that's all I have to say, really. Your gameplay is pretty good. Just make sure you are alive when you need to be alive, and it will help you out so much in the future. Good luck.